Hi, everybody. We are live here for another edition of VCTV. We are back with another double-packed episode day all week. As we've talked about every single day last week and the week before, we are double-packing this month and last to talk about everything that's happening here in Q3 as we round out towards the last sprint of the end of the year. This is an important time of the year for you as an entrepreneur and you as an investor. It's when the best time is to go find some of the greatest companies that are out there fundraising. And then as entrepreneurs, it's the best time to start talking to investors if you haven't, and get that last minute capital in before we come to the end of the year and the start to a new. Tons of things are happening in technologies, industries, and regions around the world. And that's what we do here at VCTV. We bring you the latest and the best and the brightest minds to give that to you, to shine light on what they're seeing, and also connect you with them to continue the conversation afterwards. And with that, audience, thank you so much for tuning in. We've got a lot to talk about today. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, do drop them in the chat. We'll do our best to ask them in real time. And as well as if you would like to be on a show like today as investors, like we have here on today's show, do reach out to the LATOKEN team and or Elena, Maria, myself, and we'd be happy to have you on and find the right topic for you. Entrepreneurs, this is not just a stage for investors. We've talked about this. It's also a stage for you. Take advantage of this opportunity to get up on the virtual stage and pitch us as investors for 5+ minutes and our live audience. Huge opportunity to get focused audience and investors in your key area. Do reach out to the same team. We would love to find the right topic and episode for you. And also a big thank you to Elena and to Maria and to the entire LATOKEN team for making VCTV possible every single day on your screen, your device, anywhere in the world. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm Kyle Lacotte, your host for yet another edition of VCTV, and an exciting one at that. We are taking it back to infrastructure, but a different type of infrastructure today. We're looking at construction, property, and real estate technology. These are three very big industries that all tie together, but play a very different role in and with technology. Construction, the building of things from the ground up. Property, well, there's all different types of technologies that are integrating with that, as Frederick and others will share as well. And then real estate. We've got a real estate boom in different places around the world right now. This is the time to start talking about it. What advancements or lack thereof have there been in this industry, and where do things go from here? That's, again, why we've brought this panel together and why we're going to go ahead and get started. With that, let's welcome up our very first guest and also a new panelist here with us on VCTV. Frederick, welcome to the show. First time guest with us here today. If you can, a little intro, a little background.
Hi guys, hey ladies all over the world. I am Frederick Sandvall and I am in England, London, and I usually work all over the world trying to connect opportunities with money, and I love property, real estate because it's real, and I love how we can also create money and opportunities, and also linking it to how tech works is super exciting. So yeah. Happy to talk more about myself, but this is all about you, listener.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much, Frederick. And like I said, everyone, in the beginning, there are pieces that are missing to this puzzle, things we don't talk about and things that need to be talked about. Frederick, that connection, that glue, that fabric from a financial perspective is something big that we are going to get to in just a little bit. But to welcome another first-time guest with us here on this edition of VCTV, John, welcome to the show. A little intro, a little background. Oh, John, you're on mute. Oh, we still got you on mute. We're going to come back to you in just a minute. Adrian, welcome back to the show. I know it's been a few minutes. We've seen each other, but if you can, a little intro, a little background. And John, I'll come right back to you here in just a moment. Adrian.
Hello, Kyle, and hello, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here. I have more than 10 years as a background in real estate, not in construction, just in brokering deals. And I love property. Actually, I believe that the classical real estate agency is dying because more and more the technology will replace human. humans. I work for Faster Capital as a representative in UK and Romania. Also, I'm involved as a CMO EMEA with CloudCoin Consortium and as a business mentor with Virgin Startups. Happy to be here and to discuss about property.
Wonderful. Happy to have you back. John, to you, same thing, intro, a little background.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle, for having me. So I live in Bangalore, India, and I had the privilege of setting up Asia's first Proptech accelerator, which has mentored over 30 plus startups. Some have gone on to raise big sums of money. It's a great time for Proptech entrepreneurs to actually take advantage of what's happening around us and actually grow the business. I've been a serial entrepreneur and an investor. I used to run a fund in India. I've done 3 startups, 1 exit, 1 IPO, 1 failed. So fairly well entrenched into the startup ecosystem, and happy to share my experience. Thank you again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And then Noble, welcome back. It is a pleasure to see you. I see you got an ice water bottle. I know it is hot, hot, hot where you're at right now, but so pleased that you could join us. If you can, a little intro, a little background. Oh, looks like we might have you on mute there.
There you go. Can you hear me now, Kyle?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, I said, we're dealing with temperatures 105 degrees yesterday, I think. So it's been really interesting and still trying to get work done and enjoy the Labor Day weekend. My name is Noble Dracone. I'm with Dracone Capital Partners. We work with pre-seed, seed, pre-Series A companies to help them find and raise capital, as well as make direct investments, either through ourselves or with our partners at M Accelerator, which is an accelerator/incubator. I've been involved with investing for the last 25, 26 years, and real estate has been a significant part of that, from multifamily properties to working in virtual reality and augmented reality for brokers and people to be able to walk and understand the properties early on and doing 360 degree mapping. So now with COVID, this is kind of the thing people are trying to understand, particularly on the retail side. How do you sell property when you really have a hard time having people to walk through? And so we love the space as well as the commercial space, large industrial development, a lot of IoT things I'm looking forward to talk about. So thanks for having me, Kyle.
And I did it too. Last week, as we talked about on the IoT side and edge and industrial, so industrial IoT or IIoT, and we talked about the industry 4.0, all of these sectors play a role in construction technology and property technology as well. So we will unpack that. Elfish, welcome back to the show. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, man.
It's been just a few minutes. Welcome back. We didn't get too much time pre-show, but I know we're gonna have a fun time here today. A little intro, a little background.
Yeah, I'm a technology entrepreneur, working tech and the application of tech. One of the areas that we're working in is in real estate and the application of data and AI in real estate, specifically around smart cities, smart buildings, sustainability. Hence, sort of participating in this session. I don't know if I agree with you about what you said about the property market is booming, mate. I don't think it is. I think the commercial market is under a complete restructuring in the next few years, given what happened with COVID. The question is, what does that manifest itself like? And I think that's the key question, right? So there we go.
You took the bait. That was to throw out to get a conversation started. So you took it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, another missing piece, very similar to Frederick, and the financial aspect is the artificial intelligence, the automation when it comes to these 3 industries. There's been a little bit of talk, but also not a lot. And this technology is one of those deep technologies we've talked about in the past that sits down below. It sits at the infrastructure level, but it plays a very impactful role and will continue to do so in the future. And with that, we've brought in the best and the brightest, the one and the only, the Grandmaster, the Jedi, Grandmaster at that, Gary Fowler, to share with us his opinion. There you go.
I need to get my lightsaber.
No pressure, man. No pressure.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Right,
So thanks, Kyle. Actually, my first startup was a construction tech company. So I actually built modular homes and large ones. Nobody had really been doing it at the time. And I would build houses that were up to 8,000 square feet. So I actually built them in a factory and then I would bolt the boxes together on site. I would have 6 boxes in a large garage, that kind of thing. So we actually were involved in that years ago, 30 years ago. So, I mean, it's near and dear to my heart. So my name's Gary Fowler, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 15 companies. I've got a new virtual accelerator to be able to help our venture studio. And I just love artificial intelligence because, as Kyle knows, and a lot of my friends here on the panel, AI is the new electricity. And we want to be some of the ones that help bring that around the world. So I've done my biggest exit. I was involved in Click Software, was sold for 1.35 billion about a year ago. And even my latest company is coming into unicorn status as we speak. So very near that point. So I love it.
Absolutely wonderful. Welcome everybody to the panel. Let's go ahead and get started with our very first question. As we've put out there, there's a few pieces missing. There's a few challenges. There's a few things thriving, or maybe not, in these 3 industries. So I want to dive right into what the current state is of these 3. So what is the current state of construction, property, and real estate technology? And we can sum it all up into Proptech for today, because there's a lot happening in each of these, but feel free to dive in. Elfish, let's start with you. You took the bait, so I'm going to start with you first. What are you seeing as the current state of these 3 areas and where things may or may not be currently?
Well, AI, same with what the 3 things, AI, what did you say?
So you got prop tech, construction tech, real estate tech. Where are things currently at with those 3?
It is quite interesting because I've been talking to some of the largest engineering firms in the world in the last week or so. I won't name them, but they're big ones. Like the biggest in the world, one of them is Fortune 100, Fortune 500. Had a call with the guy this morning, one of the guys this morning. And one of the things they're thinking about is, so they work in the construction value chain. So they're engineering firms, they're the largest in the world. And they're looking at, how do you get from initial idea all the way to constructing a smart city, all the way to managing the buildings. And they're all looking at what's called digital transformation. They're looking at, okay, what are we going to be look like as a business? And the conversations that obviously this is on the reaction of their clients. And data and AI is absolutely fundamental to their business. They're seeing that as going to be central to how they grow, how they build new business models. But the reality of where firms are, property firms, real estate, property firms, asset managers, large property portfolios, family offices have large property portfolios. To be honest, they're pretty early in terms of exploitation of AI and data across their business. It's real estate is a slow moving, reasonably conservative. Most real estate people are not technology guys. They're not even data people. They're financial guys, and they deal in physical assets and how to buy and sell physical assets. So the maturity of understanding is pretty low, I would say. The opportunity is pretty large. So just as an example, 40% of all emissions in the world are done by buildings, by real estate. So if we're talking about SDG goals and net zero, there's a large opportunity around how do you make buildings more efficient. And so that's happening. That's absolutely happening because all of the engineering firms, the real estate firms, are all looking at it going, oh shit, our investors are asking for this. What do we do? So those are the sort of some of the dynamics that I'm seeing.
And to that, I want to throw it to Noble. Noble, to you. In terms of what to add on to what Elfish said, I mean, saying that technology is coming in a little slower than we think, which is very true. We've seen it as well. But what are you seeing in terms of the current state of these things and where maybe technology is or isn't playing at the moment? So Noble, to you.
Yeah, I think we have to kind of look at this in layers. Is not one giant monolithic structure. So, one of the companies that we're looking at investing in and working with, they have a Internet of Things a protocol in which they have successfully put in sensors in all of the major, earth movers and the like, in order to reduce the expense and cost of supply chain and improvement of the items when they wear and tear. We really like this vertical that they're tapped into, and they're starting to add more and more of their sensors into the entire production cycle of a lot of these large construction projects, because these machines are expensive, and if they break down and you're trying to create a foundation 100 feet deep, or more. You're doing these things that you want to make sure your equipment is ready to go. So we really like that type of idea in placement and a practical use of IoT. There's a lot of data across the board. Alpesh is mentioned, and the reality is, real estate is pretty a static industry. It has a very difficult time trying to add new ideas, new technology. But when you start looking at fintech and you start looking at the idea that people are now trying to figure out ways to expedite the process of property transfer and switch over, then there's a lot of things that are actually on the bleeding edge there, where you're really looking at the whole DeFi component being applied to real estate to make it smoother. So, it depends on what areas you're looking at and where the people are receiving the most friction, then you'll see where the innovations are. Real estate in general, everyone's concerned because on the larger commercial side of things, people are worried that, who's going to rent office space? All the stores are shutting down. They were prior to COVID-19, and now you're finding commercial spaces that are open that are trying to repurpose themselves. I think Amazon stated that a lot of mall spaces they're imagining turning into segments of their own fulfillment centers. So we know that there's movement. The problem is when you're so close to the canvas, it's hard to determine what that movement exactly is and what target to chase down.
Absolutely agree. Gary, let's come to you.
Yeah. So, in terms of the areas, Kyle, look at it where it's funny because a lot of these are similar across all vertical markets today. It's like the things we talk about, big data, AI and machine learning, virtual and augmented reality. So if you want to walk into a house, to see what it's like, think about the challenge realtors have today. You can't just, you don't know if somebody's got coronavirus or not. You may not want to go in that house. So we better be able to look at it in an entirely different way and accept it and then be able to make an offer. So areas like the Internet of Things, do I have a problem with the furnace? Do I have some type of a problem in my house? Water leakage. If you got a condo, it's a big problem with water leaking. How can we take that data and really make an automatic process out of it? Also with 5G, think about with 5G, all the opportunities that's going to offer for this, putting all these devices, these sensors everywhere. And my partner, David and Eva, actually has drones that come out of the ground for surveillance. If they detect movement, they fly out and they start filming you. Well, let's think about drones. Now people are using drones for properties, but so you can get a view of it. But imagine if you can control it and actually have a virtual walk around. So these kind of technologies, it's just, we're in the dawn of an incredibly new time. And as we talked about many times, this digital transformation in property tech. Also, think about cross-border transactions. One of the companies that I was involved in, Proptech, imagine if I'm in China or in Russia or in the UK and I want to buy a property in Maldives. How do I do it and make an easy transaction? So those kind of technologies are going to simplify our life, cross-border, the democratization of opportunity, as I've said. It's here. And now you better adapt. If I'm a realtor, you're right. It was the old days with realty. It was like a used car salesman. Well, I don't know. Somebody else is looking at it. You better get it. But now it's like, does this really fit my personal preferences? Is this the kind of house based on who I am that I want, or a rental property that's good for me and my buying style? What's the trend of the market? That particular pricing. People say real estate prices are going up and down. I think Alpesh said, but in reality, people are moving out of places like San Francisco, and they're moving to places that are like Las Vegas or Henderson or Lake Tahoe. So we got to figure out where the market is. Now imagine having that data so you can invest when the trend starts.
Absolutely. Adrian, to you.
At this moment, we don't know exactly if it will really come a recession in real estate or not, because we are seeing that the things are booming in some areas, and they are, especially in the residential side, because many people during the lockdown who are living in apartments figure out that it's better to move from the apartments and to go into a house on the ground, because if you are locked there for, let's say, a month or two, and this may happen in the future, it is better to have some kind of yard there. And this is a trend. If we are looking also from the property point of view, for example, in UK, the evictions were postponed by a month recently. So probably during this autumn, when everything will start to move, like the evictions, all the how to say, all the facilities, the financial facilities, when everything will over, and we'll able to figure out if we'll have a crisis or not. I truly believe that the real estate industry will be hardly disrupted by the technology. In the said, the model of the real estate agency, the classical real estate agency, is dying. And I would like to use the examples of how the new properties are sold in Dubai. By the way, Dubai, I think and I believe is the most progressive place on earth. And they are very developed when they are presenting the new projects, the properties, and everything can be done without actually going to visit the site. You have perfect 3D models. You have all the visiting tools possible to choose your best location. Everything can be done online with the contracts, with absolutely everything, so you don't need to visit the property. And it's a very important trend which will happen. And by the way, I saw that most of the Dubai developers, they are using Salesforce. And this is very important from the platform's point of view. So I believe there is huge opportunity first to companies to offer the marketing and the sales tools to help the real estate people to digitalize themselves. After that, tools to help the clients to make their best decisions, and also tools to make the real estate, which is a classical industry, very affordable, also to the non-tech people who want to purchase something without actually seeing. But of course, this will make space also for frauds, for scams. But of course, this is the future, how I say it.
Absolutely. And John, I want to come to you next. I mean, you have a ton of experience in this space. You set up India's first Proptech accelerator. You've worked with over 30 companies. It sounds like you've been investing in this space for some time. India, in many areas and respects, both on commercial and retail, is exploding around real estate. What are you seeing as the current state of these three areas as they come together?
So Kyle, let me just go back 3 years into history. When we started this program, there's enough documentation to say that 80% of projects across the world are delayed by over 20 months and over budget. And to make things worse, the productivity of labor in real estate was the worst across every industry. Compound this problem with the fact that the real estate industry worldwide spends less than 1% of its sales on technology. And that technology goes primarily to serve people sitting in corporate offices like Salesforce, ERP systems, CRM. And when we started this program, we just saw about 100 startups in Proptech. Fast forward 3.5 years out, we've seen now close to 2,000 startups in the Proptech space. And the past 6 months have been a boon for both the real estate industry and Proptech startups, because the real estate industry has suddenly woken up to the fact that labor's disappeared into the smaller towns, and they have no choice but to automate. So it's a great time for Proptech startups in India to actually exponentially grow their business. And I'm happy to say that 6 of the 30 startups in the last 6 months have raised funding from very, very large investors. So all in all, it's a great time for the real estate industry in India to actually introspect, completely re-engineer themselves to adopt technology. They're doing that. In fact, just to let you know, in the past 2 months itself, we've had about 11 webinars with 2,000 real estate developers in India, with 12 of our startups present to all of them. So it's a phenomenal opportunity for real estate companies to reinvent themselves, and a phenomenal opportunity for Proptech startups actually to exponentially grow.
Wonderful. And Frederick, to you, last but not least, and then we'll get to our next big question. What are you seeing as the current state of these 3 areas?
I would say the AI that I observe the most is really how in construction developers can find the right sites. That's massively growing, how that can be automated, optimized, and so on. So identify pre-sale sites and also on market sites and so on. Another aspect of AI is the whole aspect of funding. One of the companies I'm working with as a board member and shareholder is Crow with us, combining fintech and proptech, trying to make the whole application process driven by AI, reducing the headcount, which makes the whole company more scalable, but it's a very hard process to automate as well. So if you think about on a nice Venn diagram where you got proptech, fintech, and then the actual whole construction industry, that's very much the hot spot where people are looking to find the ideal thing, but it's not easy to get the risk and reward factor right. Another challenging thing is the property management thing and AI. How does that work? Because property management involves people, and people are unreliable and unpredictable, and you never know with tenants nor managers how to manage that nicely. So all very interesting topics. I'm sure we dive deeper into that, as well as the technology, how to sell construction. So really good example there, how Dubai and some other countries are really leading the way with very much everything can be done computerized with CGIs, with nice 3D models, videos. We're right now putting a property market. We don't anticipate to have any physical viewings, to have the tenant face on one side, and on the other side to actually put it out to an auction, online auction without no viewings. It's a 3D environment where people can appraise and do all their homework. So that's like post construction, but nevertheless interesting areas to look into. And I really work most with how to match the money, because construction industry is struggling with money. The whole development cycle has got a huge cash flow problem, not the least the exit funding when they can't sell the site, for example, because of COVID. That's another speciality which is not easy to do through a normal retail bank. So yeah, the money side of construction is very interesting and challenging than ever, maybe. That's all for me.
No, I think that's great. It leads me to a few follow-ups for each of you. So Elfish and Gary, I want to come to you around data and AI. Where are the opportunities? And we'll start with Elfish, and then I'll come to Gary. So where is the opportunities or the gaps for data and AI to be applied into these industries? Because there's tons, I'm sure, but where are you two seeing opportunities, or where these areas should be applied a little bit better to really increase PropTech in general?
Yeah, I mean, where do you start? I mean, the industry is wide open, to be honest. I can tell you what we're working on. At the end of the day, I think the areas that we're working on is around smart buildings. But the point is, so if you can collect data from your real estate assets and buildings and how they perform, then there's a bunch of outputs you can do with it. One is obviously managing the building better. The other one is around sustainability and manage your sustainability better. Third one is in things like related to sustainability, things like carbon credit and carbon offsetting. Obviously, the biggest thing is being able to manage your real estate assets holistically. So another example would be, I'm talking to a very large property firm. They have 35 billion pounds worth of real estate assets, 600,000 plus units globally. They're looking at how do they provide health and wellness to all of those people. There's student housing, and it's social housing. And they're interested in collecting data to be able to improve the well-being and the wellness of the residents that are there. So this is students or social housing. So being able to collect data and then be able to allow that to be used, for example, I don't know, changing the temperature of the swimming pool so that it uses less energy, but it provides the right ideal temperature for the swimming pool in the building. I'm making this up, but you get the gist. So it's around pulling in data and applying it to effectively sustainability, better performance, reducing costs of electricity consumption, or doing group buying of electricity, and doing it dynamically. So this isn't about one-year deals. This is about dynamically buying electricity. And then health and wellness is just a sort of outer example that actually one of the people that I'm dealing with has mentioned to me.
And Gary, to you, I mean, furthering on that point, what other areas are you seeing that really is an opportunity for AI and data to be applied, furthering?
Yeah. Let me just one point that Alpesh said. So we have a battery company, and one of the things that we're working with is one of the largest power consortium in the United States. And the idea is off-peak electricity is a lot cheaper. So what if, I mean, let's keep it simple. What if I store the electricity in these batteries and just use it during peak times? And then this is cloud-based, it's an AI tool. So imagine being able to access this information from anywhere so I can manage my property and understand what refrigerator, is my refrigerator bad? Is it pulling more electricity? So that's something we're doing like literally today on my side. Then it's like, you know, again, this is like keep it simple, stupid time. If I want to, you know, today we got a challenge. If you want to view a house, as I said, how can you do it? So why don't we use virtual reality, augmented reality in the technology? It's crazy. So if I want to visit, I wanted to buy a property and they said, well, you can't go in right now because of the COVID situation. Well, why can't I do a virtual walkthrough? I want to like feel it. I want to see the property from the inside. I want to look at the property from the outside. I don't want you sending me pictures. Right? It's great if I can see it on screen, but I want to have a true experience. So I think that's really cool. But the other thing is, you know, buy-in property. So if I want to buy a property, how as an individual can I really have my preferences taken, the things I like, my personality traits, crime in the area? Okay, Zillow is great, but it's one dimensional. I can look at it. It doesn't give me like, you know, based on my own hyper-personalized choices. Why don't we have that? That's the next level. Let's make it easier. Then the other thing, and I'm really concerned about, is what are the trends for that particular market of going up in value and why? I don't want to lose my money. I don't want to drop in 20%. Right now, there's a great opportunity. Think about it, Kyle. Out there today, we talk about people moving. There's a huge exodus. The homes in the suburbs are selling like crazy. Well, imagine if you could be able to predict that 3 months ago, how much money you could have made. So I see it across the board. Then simple things like chat box. Why don't we have more chat box on Zillow? I mean, seriously, I want to know about a property. Tell me some more about it, right? Why are the homeowners association charges so high? Compare this with the other ones in the area so I can get a true idea what it's going to cost me. And oh, by the way, if I'm on Zillow and I haven't seen this before, but what about bank and interest rates? Who's interested in lending right now? I went to my own bank, SunTrust, which is down in Florida, and I've got, you know, a bit of money in it. And I tried to get a loan, and basically my private banker said, you know, why don't you just pay cash? Money's really tight right now. Well, if I can't get money, I'm not going to be buying any commercial property, or I'm not going to be buying any personal. I said, well, why would I want to do that? Why don't you just keep my money and it's secure? It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think that goes both to Frederick and Noble. So, John, I see you have a point though. Let's come to you real quick. If I just saw you on mute, do you have a point to add?
Yeah. So, Kyle, I'm taking a slightly deviant topic here. You know, the world is today tackling real estate in a traditional manner. But one thing that we've realized, having spent so many years, is that, you know, there is a far larger environmental issue. And let me talk about it. Do you know that by 2025, 21 cities in India will run out of groundwater? Do you know that by 2030, We will need 66,000 hectares of land for landfills. Lakes in Bangalore are burning. The air is becoming unbreathable. And there is a silent killer, which is radiation. I mean, today, radiation is the cause of a lot of ailments that we don't even know. So sustainability is going to become a big thing in India. And, we realize that for every increase per degree of temperature, and Bangalore has seen a 64% increase in temperature over 15 years, there's a 4% increase in HVAC operational cost. There's a 30% increase in annual water cost every year. There's a 7% increase in waste management cost. In Bangalore city alone, this is resulting in $1 billion in capex expenses and $1.3 billion in opex expenses over 15 years. So we're seeing a lot of technology, and we've invested in companies that have saved in 12 months 3 billion liters of water, that have created sewage treatment plants that don't need energy, power, or manual scavenging. So we're seeing a lot of intersection of technology with real estate environment that's actually saving billions of dollars for this industry.
Well, and speaking of saving, Frederick, I'm going to come to you, and then Noble, I want to come back to you around AR, VR. But Frederick, to you, I mean, where is the gaps? Where are the opportunity for fintech really to start playing a major role here? I know you mentioned a few, but I want to go a layer deeper on that. Where should people be paying attention to? Where is it being missed today?
Yeah, before I even jump into the financial spaces, like everything covered by all of you guys on this call is just the tip of the iceberg. So the companies really applying this is the top 10%, the top 1%, and they are killing it. While the majority of all the old school people in construction technology are way, way behind. I linked that to because innovation in construction is, again, it's a slow burn. Many of the banks don't pick up. I'd like to share a crazy story here. I am born in Sweden, and Noble, you said the prefab, the whole manufacturing off-site. If you do that in the UK, you might not even get the traditional bank finance on it. That's how behind the UK banks are on this, while in mainland Europe, it's been there for 100 years plus. So that's just how innovation sometimes doesn't link with financing. And the whole construction is also mismanaged with the link with financing, because often the whole industry don't manage to present to investors in a way which is transparent. Again, the problem, especially when we've got some VC people on the call, the entrepreneur versus the VC, the balance of information management is so hard in construction because it is underdeveloped to have a nice pitch. So coming again back to the 10%, 1% up there, they get funding because they can show the whole route from acquisition to development, exit funding, and sales and so on, while the big bulk of the industry is relying upon old school real estate realtor or salespeople that don't really perform, especially in today's market. So the top people are really getting all the funding they want, while the majority are struggling. To give you a little feeler for the London market outside my window here, we have the same as you got in the US. The commercial side is really suffering right now. But for just random reasons, the government gave a little loophole how to convert commercial into residential a few years ago. And the people I know who have been in that space, they've been smashing it, turning around city centers into more of residential, while the construction need is not really there. I could talk about financing all day long. So yeah, I put myself on pause there.
No, it's perfect. Thank you so much for going deep on that. We appreciate it. Noble, to you, AR, VR. John, 1 second, I saw you unmuted, so just 1 moment. Noble, to you, AR, VR. Where are you seeing the areas of opportunity, the gaps? Where should this technology really be applied today?
It's really running across the gamut, Kyle. When you talk about individuals, and Gary really hit on the nail on the head. Prior to what COVID was doing in the retail space, people were using drones. They're using 360 cameras in the middle of rooms to be able to actually video footage all of the homes, to be able to show people what the properties look like. And so the behavior is already trained, and now it's even gotten more just focused on the fact that people just don't want 100 or 200 strangers walking through their homes. They want people who are going to buy right away. So augmented reality, particularly with, I don't know if you guys noticed, but a few of these eyeglass or eyewear companies who are successfully killing it, it means that AR is going to be ubiquitous a lot sooner than we think. I think that what's happened with COVID is kind of forced those companies to reimagine being able to give people the AR experience that they're looking for. And this is really, real estate is it. But then on the flip side, to some other points, there's just people want a bespoke experience. We really are starting to get into what the true digital divide means in a big way. And those people who are in the digital divide on the other side of it are really looking for an experience that's fully curated. They want their homes to talk to them. They want to be able to walk in, have the right temperature, be able to experience life in a particular way that, older homes were never really designed for, to be honest. And so there's a huge opportunity in home retrofitting for people who want that, the comfort, what they say, the comforts of home. So the reality is there's no way to get away from the encroachment of technology. We just kind of have to embrace the opportunities that we see. And then lastly, when we have the huge mortgage-backed security crisis, one of the number one issues, and this has really been, my background's been in finance for 20 something years, was that people didn't even know who owned the property. When they bundled all these mortgage-backed securities, they were clueless on who and what the chain of title and the chain of control was for the entire process, to the point of where, the government not only interceded in bailing companies out, but just interceded in being able to figure out who owned what property and if a company actually had the right to foreclose on someone if the proper paperwork wasn't signed. So the whole idea that you have to fill out 40, 50, 60, 100 pieces of documents to transfer title and to secure financing is ridiculous. And DLT, distributed ledger technology, is really the only way. There's so many other countries that are already chopping up property bit by bit on the blockchain, allowing people to have fractional ownership, fractional investment. Australia, you have the group BRICS, which does investments for individuals to invest in property with chain of title on DLT. That's really where a lot of the innovation is. Just get rid of the paper. It's just too much paper to make one real estate transaction, and then to be able to vet it. It's a lot of waste. And so as an investor and entrepreneur, on both sides of the fence, I look for where the problem solution set is, and then the low hanging fruit. And the crazy thing is, in real estate, there's just a lot of low hanging fruit.
Well, I see Elfish and Adrian and Frederick shaking their heads. I think everyone's agreeing with this one. Frederick, I'm going to come to you, Elfish, Adrian, Gary, and then John. So I know everyone's got a point on this, and then we'll get up to the lightning round as we're getting close to the top of the hour. So Frederick first, Elfish, and then I'll come around.
Yeah, I'd like to lift this to the macro level of the end user, i.e. in construction, who will actually live there. The whole transient generations, so the younger generations, is a massive thing. So we've got the millennials and the guys behind them. They don't really need to own real estate in many parts of the world. So they like to own. We've got the build to rent is massive in the UK. We see also that the move for environmental reasons, linking to what John said before, is starting to happen. So some countries are pulling people for environmental reasons. I've also got a big foothold in Sweden, where I'm born, and still have got property. And I can see how that is getting more and more popular, while other parts might be underwater in a short future. Yeah.
Elfish, anything else to add on both Frederick and Noble's points around data, DLT, and the like?
Oh, DLT, yes, interesting.
Sorry,
I've worked in the blockchain space for over 5 years, but I think that there's a more relevant point to make, which is, are boards of these companies going to make any change happen? So ultimately, I mentioned near the beginning of the session about engineering firms, real estate firms paying attention to the changes that are happening. So until the boards of these firms who are large property portfolios actually say we're going to do this in anger and look at data AI, look at things like blockchain and new technologies, until the boards commit to doing something and then allocating budget and letting their innovation teams and their operational teams make change happen, then nothing will happen. And I'm seeing that. So that's the point I wanted to make, is that the engineering firms at the board level, and I've spoken to one guy who runs Asia for an engineering firm, another guy who's on the board of another firm. I've spoken to senior execs in property firms. It's now at the board level. It's the board level agenda. So therefore, that implies that money will be spent to make these change happen, which frankly, for an entrepreneur is fantastic. Because at least the board buys in and there's budget and projects. Doesn't matter what clever stuff you have, nobody's going to buy it, right? And so that's the biggest thing for me, is that I'm seeing that change emerge, and opportunity therefore is there to actually deliver something real.
Mm-hmm. Adrian, to you, anything else to add on that?
I wanted to add to Noble's mentioning of fractional ownership. Due to DLT and due to tokenization, the fractional ownership becomes more liquid than ever. And where there is a project where the banks, let's say, are reluctant to do something, this can be replaced by a crowdfunding platform with a good user base, which can raise the money for the project and also assure a way so that if a retail investor wants to exit, to be able, by using a token, to sell his share on an open market, which is a very, very important shift in how fractional ownership is managed. I see this as a huge trend also.
Absolutely. And Gary, to you, anything else to add on the point around DLT, data, et cetera?
Well, so I think that, as we look at this, there's just every single area, from what we talked about, from sustainability to data that's out there to be able to help us make better decisions, to trends, elderly, right? People that are really retire are seriously looking at moving high tax countries to places that have lower taxes and have retirement homes. And so we're in a thrust of a tidal wave coming in all kinds of different ways. And data is going to be really important to be able to drive those transitions. And whether it's cross-border, I mean, think about it today. How can we buy a property if we're in Greece trying to buy a place in the United States or the UK? It's damn near impossible. It's hard. How do you get it funded, right? If you don't have the fund, you don't have $10 million in the bank, how do you do it? So I think those are the opportunities, and this democratization that's taken place now is going to offer those opportunities for us. So blockchain's coming into play, data is coming into play, AI is coming into play, sustainability is coming into play. It's all coming together. The Germans have a phrase, Gestalt, the sum of the parts equal the whole. We're at that point. We had better start looking at this holistically. And it's not just about conversations. I mean, it's happening now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And guys, gentlemen, with that, we have reached the top of the hour. We're reaching the lightning round. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, as it is Monday and Partner Monday at that. So I know everyone might have additional meetings to go to. So I want to come to each of you for your closing thoughts on these three areas: construction, property, and real estate technology. Any closing thoughts or opportunities that you have the audience should be aware of, and then also where everyone can find you online. Adrian, let's go ahead and start with you. Any closing thoughts around these three areas, opportunities, and then where can everyone find you online?
My closing thought is about the little people, the retail investor, who can have more opportunities than ever to involve in real estate investments, starting with low amounts. And this is a big trend I will follow very closely. I can be found on LinkedIn. Adrian Niculescu is my name. And by the way, I had during the weekend, I went through like 500 connection requests, and 99% of them, they wanted to sell me something, or they were looking for investment. So LinkedIn becomes annoying for that, but it's an amazing space I couldn't live without. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adrian. And to that point, as we've talked about on previous episodes of VCTV, when you do reach out to connect someone, especially an investor, give context. So for someone like Adrian and all of our other panelists here, make sure you do reference that you saw them on VCTV or that you saw them talk about a specific industry that's related to you. If not, to Adrian's point, it gets lost in the noise. It happens to everybody, including yourself. So do make sure you add context to that reach out as well. One quick question, Adrian, did you sign up for Netflix?
Of course.
There we go. All right, perfect.
On Friday.
There you go.
Under the dark side.
Check out
my kids are very happy. My kids are very happy.
For the audience, check out Friday's episode of VCTV. We talked a little bit about entertainment and the future of this industry, and we got Adrian to promise he would sign up for these video streaming services. He had not, and he's now testing them. So those who may be looking for someone new in entertainment to test out your product, there you go. You got a new buddy. All right, with that, Noble, to you, any closing thoughts, and then where can everyone find you online?
Well, to Adrian, bună ziua, ce faci?
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, my books have been translated into Romanian, so I spent a lot of time in Bucharest and Sibiu. So it's good to see someone from Romania. But it's easy to reach me. You know, I'm on LinkedIn, Noble Dracone, as well as you can use Twitter. Just use my last name, @Dracone. And you know, just closing thoughts is that, you know, we do VCTV, and we're talking to both the entrepreneurs and investors. And I believe that a lot of investors, you know, should really look towards teaming up or pairing up with the panelists, because everyone on the panel is usually at the forefront of where they're headed. And it makes all of our jobs easier as investors when we're teamed up with people who are already knee deep and already seeing a solid vision. And for the entrepreneurs, I believe that, you know, it's great to reach out because, you know, I get the same messages, but it's better to reach out with a true WIFM. You know, I've yet to see anybody reach out to me with a real what's in it for me. It's still the hat in hand. And I think that always is a failure to get investors to get involved. And it's not percentage that is oftentimes the most moving. You know, listening to John today, I've been completely moved to get a better understanding of what's going on in the future of Indian real estate, because it's been off my radar completely. And it makes me excited to learn about that and potentially invest in those areas. So I think that, but I understand the WIFM. I understand what's in it for me. It's a burgeoning economy. So I think that for the most part, that like all topics on VCTV, they're great. There's opportunity, but really make a solid connection with everyone here to drive forward. That's all I can say.
Thank you very much, Noble. Appreciate it. Gary, to you, quick closing thoughts, and where can everyone find you?
Yeah, no, I agree with Noble. It's, you know, the key is to be able to get the data so you can make those kind of decisions. And VCTV is a great place to get that information to figure out what the trends are and to help you move whether you're an investor looking to invest or a startup looking for a new idea. This is a great place. So you can reach me, Gary Fowler, LinkedIn, or Gary at GSD, GetShitDoneVentureStudios.com. And I'd be happy to talk to you. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you guys very much. Elfish, to you, quick closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you online to continue conversation, maybe work with you on a few of these outstanding technology areas?
Yeah, so I mean, in simple terms, real estate is not really seen as a innovative industry in general, right? The construction industry is seen as fairly conservative. What I'm seeing is actually that seems to be changing. You know, they are laggards in the market, but given all the market dynamics that have happened, we're seeing that change. And as Gary has said and Noble has said, you know, I'm into data. We're building data platform and services around application of data to help enable these things to happen. That's a complex task to do. That's what we're working on, to make it easier for people to then build the apps that needed. So that's what I'd say. You can find me on LinkedIn and Alpesh Doshi. On Twitter, it's @Alpesh Doshi. Obviously, type my name in on the web and you'll find me. There you go.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. John, to you, quick closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you online?
So you can find me on John Kuruvilla at LinkedIn, or John, just go to Brigade REAP, BRIGADEREAP.com. You'll find me there. Let me share some positive thoughts on this session. We speak to about 500 CXOs from the leading developers in India. Every quarter, we ask them, what are the challenges you want addressed? And when we spoke to them in April this year, they told us 5 spaces. They told us, listen, we are in comeback mode. Can you get us access to startups who can deliver contactless access? Contactless biometrics, contactless access. The second thing they said is, can you get us technology companies that can give us remote site management? That include drones, video analytics and management, and camera mounted on helmets. The third was, can you look at sanitizing spaces? In fact, today, a very large theater retail chain said, listen, can you sanitize a 500-seater theater? And we've got 300 of them in India. Legal tech and sustainability. These are 5 things that the real estate frontier in India are desperately looking at, and PropTech startups are looking at addressing this. So to investors and startups, hey, the world is there for the taking now. Great time.
Absolutely. Great point. And where can everyone find the accelerator to apply to learn more and get some support?
BrigadeReap.com, BrigadeReap, realestateacceleratorprogram.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, John. Frederick, I'm giving you the biggest pressured moment. You're closing us out. Last closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you online?
All right. So I have got a unique name, Frederick Sandvall. You can find me on page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on Google, or you can go straight to LinkedIn and connect. Entrepreneurs, feel free to follow my work on Invest in You on a podcast. And if you are in the investment space, looking to invest into the UK, family offices, overseas investors, etc., just feel free to connect. I have got many thousands of connections in your space where you'd like to invest in the UK globally. And the same, I love deal making. Why not make money for everyone in the mix? On that note, I'll give the word back to you, Kelly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And gentlemen, thank you all very much for joining today and sharing your thoughts and insights on what's happening in these 3 areas. Again, construction, property, and real estate technology, and everything that is either missing or in between those areas as well. And to you, our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Do reach out as well if you'd like to be on a show like today as an investor to share your thoughts and insights, or as an entrepreneur to pitch us and the live audience what you're building, whether it be a company, a project, and or the like. Do reach out and we'd be happy to have you. And also a big thank you to Elena, to Maria, and to the entire LA Token team for making VCTV possible every single day. And gentlemen, again, thank you so much. As I mentioned earlier to you, audience, today is a double episode all week, double episodes. It is funding season. We'll be back here after a short little break to talk to you a little bit more. Thank you, Noble, about what's happening in a few more industries as well. I'm Kyle Ellicott, your host. You can find me everywhere at Kyle Ellicott. Thank you, Gary, on all social media and on LinkedIn. Thank you, Frederick, as well. Everyone have a great day. We'll be back here in just a little bit to talk to you a little bit more. Take care.